This podcast is recorded and produced in the township of Tiny, Ontario, on the traditional lands of the Huron-Wendat Nation and the Anishinaabeg people.
We want to thank the Indigenous people for their past and present stewardship of these lands and waterways, and look to their wisdom to guide us toward a future of harmony and good health for all beings that call Turtle Island home.
She possesses a great deal of empathy. She can meet someone new and make things feel comfortable, easy to talk to her and feel heard. It's always fun to be around.
Welcome to Originals More Than ALS, the show where we highlight the lives and experiences of the ALS community to spread awareness, education, and hope. Today we are joined by Jodee Karlowsky.
Jodee Karlowsky is a woman of many talents. She has a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture Plant Sciences from the University of Manitoba. She worked for the Alliance Seed Corporation for more than 16 years, initially in the role of marketing coordinator, and in February 2022, she became the company's general manager. Jodee loves baseball, reading, and all animals, especially her yellow lab, Finley. But the joy of Jodee's life is her husband, Greg. Jodee wasn't with Greg when he was officially diagnosed with ALS in August of 2024, but Greg's diagnosis wasn't a complete shock. By then, the road had already been long. Jodee was filled with a numbness, a quiet, hollow feeling, and in her mind was the question, okay, now what? Together, Jodee and Greg are figuring out the answers one day at a time. They are finding ways to complete their bucket list, help the ALS community, and focus on spending time with loved ones. Jodee is a 2026 graduate of the Canadian ALS Learning Institute, and we're very excited to have her as our guest today.
Oh, thank you. That was so awesome.
Okay, good.
For more on Jodee, here's some love from her good friend, Jess.
Hi there, my name is Jessica, and I've been asked to say a few words about my friend Jodee. Jodee and I have been close friends for over 40 years, ever since our first year of university. She is that extrovert friend that's always fun to be around. She can meet someone new and make things feel comfortable very quickly. Although we lived in different provinces for years, every visit felt like simply picking up where we had left off. As a friend, I found that she possesses a great deal of empathy, which always makes it easy to talk to her and feel heard. After processing Greg's diagnosis of ALS, it seemed like such a natural progression for Jodee to want to help others navigate that journey as well. I'm so proud of Jodee for launching herself into this new role to help advocate for others with ALS.
We'd like to extend a big thank you to Jess for taking the time to share and help us learn a little bit more about Jodee.
And your dog's name is Finley, correct?
That's right. Finley Kabawi.
Finley Kabawi?
Yeah. That's what everybody calls us, the Kabawis, because one time at work, we were discussing about how when you get married, women change their names, but men don't. So we decided, this group of my girlfriends and I, that I didn't want to do that. And for a long time, I guess I've always kept my maiden name Karlowsky, because I always tell people it took me a long time to learn how to spell it. So I don't want to change my name to Bowie. Or we decided that we should have a merger. That's what a marriage is, right? A merger. When you merge or something, you put things together. So then we were kind of joking when we were going for coffee one day, and we came up with Kabawi. License plate on our car is Kabawi. Our email's Kabawi, and all of our friends call us the Kabawis.
Jodee and Greg met one another working in the agriculture industry. Though they were located in different provinces, they worked for the same grain company, and their paths crossed when Greg would come into Winnipeg for meetings. Over the years, they developed a strong friendship that blossomed into something more, eventually marrying at the beginning of 2009.
I got to be an instant grandma because his daughter has 3 young babies. And so I'm an instant grandma. It's great because you just get the grandma stage without having the kids stage. So I like that.
Greg has bulbar onset ALS, leading to early symptoms presenting through his speech. Jodee told us she feels oddly grateful for this, as she's heard many stories of pals with limb onset ALS being misdiagnosed due to non-specific symptoms. She recalls a memorable moment where it became clear Greg's voice was changing.
In December of 2023, we were at his Christmas party, and he sounded like he had sort of a cold. Voice was quite funny. And he was the MC at the Christmas party. We worked for a big grain company, and so we had a fairly big party. And he came to me and he said, kind of sound like a bit of a douchebag. That's what sticks out in my head. And I said to him, I think you just need to stand closer to the mic.
They chalked it up to some dental work Greg had recently undergone, but concerns continued to grow in early 2024 as Greg's voice was not improving and he was starting to struggle with chewing. He went to his general practitioner, who eventually ruled out a suspected stroke. As the confusion continued, Greg began to have difficulty at work.
He was slurring a little bit. People were thinking he was drunk at work. That was getting very gradually worse from January into June. I can't say enough good things about his boss. If it wasn't for him, things probably wouldn't have happened as quick as they did. He kept saying to Greg, something's not right. You need to go and get it figured out. He kept encouraging Greg to go to the US and go and see somebody down there because things just go slow here.
Greg's general practitioner set him up with an ear, nose, and throat specialist, but there was a 9-month wait to see the doctor. He was able to see a neurologist at the end of June 2024, but had continued to decline during the 5-month wait. With the support of Greg's boss, they were able to secure a much more immediate appointment with an ENT specialist in Fargo, North Dakota, a 4-hour drive south.
Not uncommon for people from Winnipeg to drive to Fargo, but usually it's to go shopping, not to the doctor.
Jodee had started to suspect throat cancer, but she was shocked by the ENT's alternative theory.
He said, well, you don't have throat cancer, your voice box is good, everything is good, but what I see happening is tongue fasciculations. That's a sign of ALS. And I remember distinctly saying to him, you're not serious, are you? And he said, yeah, I am. He said, I'm not a neurologist, but in med school, that's what they teach you. Fasciculations are a sign of ALS.
After this visit to Fargo, the diagnosis process moved along quickly. In July, Greg saw the first of 3 neurologists, and by August 7th, 2024, he was diagnosed via EMG testing.
It was kind of funny because this weekend we drove across Western Canada. So I said to Greg when we're driving, do you want to listen to the podcast episodes? And he did. And when Greg was listening to that, he was just nodding. He's like, oh my God, same thing. It was about hearing he wasn't the only person that goes through those things. And I was like, no, you're not.
That's really good because that is actually part of the purpose of the podcast. In fact, the primary one really is really, we just wanted folks to feel like, yeah, I'm not the only one this is happening to. I'm not alone. So, and it's interesting, my mom was diagnosed with bulbar ALS as well. Like it was bulbar onset. She had limb involvement too, but just in terms of her voice, it sounded nasally, and when she went to the doctor, it was in the spring and the doctor just thought it was her allergies, which, of course she'd had allergies her entire life, but it was reasonable to kind of assume that, but that's not what it was. It wasn't her allergies. It did delay the diagnosis for several more months. And I guess from what you're saying there, really, by going to the clinic in Fargo, that sped up the diagnosis by a few months, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't have been seeing the next specialist until the fall of 2024 in Canada.
That's right. In that respect, we were really lucky because Greg's boss was so insistent on him going and getting this figured out.
And it is great, too, that he was able to get that support from his boss, because that kind of support from an employer could definitely be few and far between, especially if, you sound like you're drunk. And I imagined that would not be something that was in Greg's character. But, you never know, especially at big corporations, how people are going to respond to that kind of thing. And we were even... Mom, you were remarking the other day about Eric Dane, that actor who passed away from ALS in February, and he's in that show Euphoria. 3rd season of that has just started coming out, and he did record for that before he passed away. And you were really disappointed, Mom, about how they're portraying him, because the way that they've dealt with his ALS is that they've just made him, a horrible drunk in the show. And you were quite bothered by that, eh?
Yeah, disappointed is being really polite, Flynn.
Oh, see, I haven't watched that. We watched the Eric Dane Famous Last Words. it was good because once again, that really resonated with Greg because he said a lot of the things that Eric said he felt. I watched him in Brilliant Minds, but I haven't watched him in Euphoria. Even his Brilliant Minds one, I was kind of like, everybody has a different way of dealing with things. But I thought, I would hope that people would not want to keep this from their family because, man, it's, my word is shitty because that's the thing you can say that's socially acceptable. It's a shitty disease. So.
Yeah. Sometimes what we're thinking, the words we're thinking might not be socially acceptable. But as far as that Euphoria show goes, I watched it only because Eric Dane was in it. I guess what I was hoping was that for season 3, that they would somehow write his ALS into the story. And that is not what they did. They are portraying him as being drunk.
That doesn't do the community any favors.
It doesn't.
There was an opportunity to do something much better with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's too bad.
When Greg was diagnosed, he and Jodee felt they were left in the dark by the medical community. One of Greg's neurologists mentioned the existence of Manitoba's ALS clinic, but otherwise they were left to navigate this complex diagnosis with little guidance. The onus was on them to reach out for help.
He reached out to the clinic to say, hey, when do I get to come to clinic? He did that. Nobody said to him, oh, here's your diagnosis. Here's your next appointment. We're navigating stuff on our own. That's how I feel. And I think as more time passes, I still think that people are left on their own here through no fault of anyone else. It's just that there's not enough resources here in Manitoba, right? We reached out to the ALS Society of Manitoba, followed up with them. I mean, they're way understaffed. There's only 2 of them there. So that's an issue. I started following the ALS Society of Canada, and I think that's how I found out about the CALI program. I wouldn't have known about it otherwise. Applied for it, got in, and I was like shocked at how little I knew about what was out there. Even like the things like I asked the neurologist that we see, are we registered in the Canadian Motor Neuron Disease Registry? And he said, no. I'm like, okay, so we can do that though, right? We can self-register. And he said, yeah. And I'm like, okay, we'll do that. So no one in Manitoba is in that. How do you even know how many people in Manitoba have ALS?
Right.
And then how do you assign resources to that even?
Yeah, exactly. How would you? They wouldn't because they don't realize.
I don't think I quite answered your question.
Actually, Jodee, you did. You did answer it because really the answer is you weren't supported particularly well from the beginning. And there still is a lack of support and resources. It's not really anybody's fault at ALS Manitoba. If they only have 2 staff members, I mean, my goodness, that's not a lot. But it's interesting, like, I guess I wonder about sharing of resources, like, what's available from ALS Canada that provincial societies could also use, right? I don't know. It's interesting. And it's not great. In terms of like the community services, that is where you would feel more supported if there were more. Like, yes, in Ontario, there are the community leads that go to people's homes to see how they're doing. And I am on the Community Services Advisory Council for ALS Canada. So they have a meeting 4 times a year. They're really good meetings. Like I learn a lot about how, if you need something like you need an occupational therapist to come into your home, they can organize to have that happen because the OTs that are at the ALS clinic, they do not come out to your home. They don't come out into the community. They're only in the clinic. So that sort of thing as an example of what things that they do to help, right?
We've had that. They referred us to like the OT from our regional health area has come here to our house. For me, what I feel is that my dad's 94. He's still alive. He's gone through cancer 3 times. I always equate this to getting a cancer diagnosis. If you get a cancer diagnosis, there's kind of people there that say, okay, well, you go to the clinic over here, you do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, radiation, chemo, whatever it is. We're going to do this, we're going to try this. And if you need some help, I mean, I have an app on my phone from my dad that says, if you need a support group, there's a meeting Thursday night at the Grace Hospital in the back room, whatever. We didn't find that. I'm like, okay, Greg, I need to talk to somebody about this. We have great friends. We've got great support from our family and everything, but I need to talk to someone that's doing this with me.
Yeah.
That's going through the same thing. They're not going through it. They support us. They say, what can we do? But it's not the same. I felt like things were lacking. And I still feel that things are lacking. Mm-hmm.
As a part of her advocacy, Jodee has reached out to her local MP and MLA to discuss the deficits faced by the ALS community in Manitoba. Her MLA happens to be the province's health critic who followed up with Manitoba's health minister. While Jodee is grateful to have been connected to the health minister, she doesn't feel the response she received aligns with her lived experience trying to access ALS resources.
And I just got an email back from her, from the minister, talking about how great they're doing with ALS care. And I was like, really? I don't...
One thing I notice about what you're saying is, part of it is, yes, a marked lack of resources, but the resources that do exist, there's not a whole lot of guidance towards them. And, there is some responsibility on a person to take initiative, but, your anecdote about a cancer diagnosis is a really good example, right? Because we think to ourselves, somebody's just received this cancer diagnosis. That's life-changing. We can't put the onus on them to find these resources. Here's all the resources. And it should be the same way for ALS, but you're not receiving that care, and that's not fair.
You're exactly right, Flynn. That's exactly how I feel. I think because I'm the kind of person I am, I do look for resources, but there are lots of people that don't. And to give you an example of that, we have a small support group going here in Manitoba. We met a lady just at our last group. She said Greg was the first person she's met with ALS bulbar. So she asked us lots of questions about how do I get this voice banking? How do I get this text to talk app? She just asked us about different things. And we just said, this is what we can help you with. This is how you do that. And make sure you ask about this. And just those little things that unless you go out and seek that information, you don't even think about it.
Jodee acknowledges there is some access to this kind of information through the ALS Society of Manitoba, but she feels the organization needs more staff to provide the level of support that people with ALS and their caregivers need. ALS Manitoba's Executive Director, Diana Rasmussen, also functions as their client coordinator, roles that Jodee feels ought to be separate.
She's doing too much. How can she be the client coordinator and the executive director? It's too much.
Yeah, sounds like it. I think the truth is too, part of your story there in terms of when Greg was diagnosed, let's say the neurologist who did the EMG, that individual is giving Greg the diagnosis. I do understand that people are busy. That is not an excuse for not taking literally, maybe 30 seconds to provide additional information. How about just a kind word, acknowledging people? Again, I understand they're busy. I understand they're stressed. I understand their job is difficult, but also part of their job is to support people. So it does really bother me that Greg walked out of there just cut loose. That's brutal.
Yeah, basically. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think Greg said to the guy, well, I'm going to be the first person to beat this. It's a good attitude to have, but that's not quite reality. The doctor kind of just said, yeah. He wasn't very encouraging and saying, yeah, you know what, that's a great attitude to have or whatever. I don't know why Greg asked him about a power chair already, why he put that in. But he says, oh, you could never afford a power chair. Well, good.
And how did he know that?
Wow.
That's just very poor bedside manner. Greg could have been treated much better than he was. It already sucked, the big one. But somebody could have done something to make it just a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's what I think my point is you get this diagnosis and you literally go, what now?
Jodee suggests that in Manitoba, there could be room to share resources attributed to other neurological diseases in order to help the ALS community. She feels there may be more resources available to people with a disease like Parkinson's or MS, and wonders if these could be extended to ALS patients while the means for more dedicated ALS care is assembled.
Is there ways to share somebody that helps those type of people too? Because these are neurological diseases. If the money isn't here in this province for a dedicated nurse practitioner, one of the comments that I got on the response that I got back today from the Manitoba Health Minister was, we have this new motor neuron clinic that has dedicated neurologists, dedicated nurse practitioners, dedicated OTs, dedicated speech therapists, dedicated social worker, dedicated respirologists and respiratory therapists. We don't actually have a nurse practitioner anymore. She quit. She hasn't been replaced, and I don't know if they will. We have 2 neurologists. The clinic only runs Mondays and Tuesdays, so 140 people in Manitoba with ALS. And the social worker is brand new. She's young, and she's been in the job since January. Nothing against them, right? But in a system that's got issues for us and here in this province, I feel like if we had that, it would be easier.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got to start somewhere, right? And I'm not some expert on diseases, right? But just in what I'm hearing and learning is it often feels like ALS is just sort of forgotten. Like, one of my best friends is about to finish school to be a registered massage therapist. I met with her the other day, and I can't remember what the name of the specialty was that she's deciding on, but she's picked this specialty that is supposed to be very helpful for people with Parkinson's and MS. I should have followed up and said, well, what about ALS? That's in the same category.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I didn't ask because she's still a student. I figured, if she knew anything about whether or not it would be helpful for ALS, I'm sure she would have said it because she knows our history and that we do this podcast and whatnot. But, I should text her about it because it did sort of bother me. I always hear Parkinson's and MS. I never hear ALS in the follow-up.
Yep.
And that's important. It's a wonderful ultimate goal to have distinct care just for ALS, but you have to start somewhere. We should be able to share the wealth a little bit.
Yep, definitely.
Since participating in the CALI program, Jodee has connected with a variety of local politicians about her experiences, and she doesn't necessarily accept all of their responses at face value. She's determined to challenge the health minister's overly positive response to her concerns, acknowledging the progress being made while pointing out the next steps that need to be taken.
Yeah, I'd love to still sit down and talk with the minister and say, that's great, but there's still room for improvement. It means that when I sat down with my MLA, she listened to what I had to say, so I'm thrilled about that. And I've met with my MP here. He's actually a doctor, and he was very aware of ALS because he was a minister when Marcel Boulanger, that is responsible for changing the words of O Canada from "in all of our sons' commands" to "in all of our commands," and was diagnosed with ALS in 2015 and passed in 2016. So he knew of ALS. I asked about the $50 million ask.
What Jodee's referring to here is the Canadian Collaboration to Cure ALS, an advocacy campaign that involves asking the federal government for $50 million over 5 years towards Canadian ALS research.
He supports it, but done any follow-up. I invited them to both come to the walk in June, the ALS walk, so some of the things I've done.
It's awesome that you did that, Jodee. I probably had the same feeling in terms of you do something and it does feel good to do it. It feels like, okay, maybe I got somewhere because they agreed to talk to me. It's hard not to afterwards think to yourself, is anything really going to change as a result of that meeting? But I can only assume that yes, but it is one of those things where it's a marathon, not a sprint. So I forget how many times you have to tell somebody something before they really remember it, but I think it's at least 5 times. So hopefully these folks remember us.
I thought it was actually 16 times.
No, you could be right. You could be right. I wouldn't be surprised. ALS advocacy is still a new endeavor for Jodee, and she did have some apprehensions about getting started with it.
For me, I think the fear was, do I know what I'm really talking about? And I don't know everything. Am I talking about something that I have no right to talk about? But in my head, I think I overcame that because I'm like, yeah, I have every right to talk about this because it's impacting me. So maybe I don't have every single fact right, but try and find the facts as much as I can. If I don't have the right number, I say, I don't know that. That's not in my realm of knowledge. But I'm living this. So if I'm going through it, somebody else is going to go through it too. And I really wouldn't want anybody else to go through this. So
Oh, of course, absolutely. We had an episode with Paula Trefiak that's coming out in a couple days now. The big sort of message that she wanted us to amplify is that lived experience is expertise. You've got the right idea. You absolutely have every right to stand up and say what's impacting you, right? Because whether you have all the facts about every little thing about this very complicated disease, of course you don't. Nobody does, but you have all the facts about your own experience, and that's important.
And that's probably the one thing too about ALS is like everybody's disease is a little different. And so their experience is a little different, right? Some people in the group that we have in Winnipeg have different concerns than what we do. And other people are like, oh my God, that's a big deal. And we're like, nah, whatever. And everybody's different. But this is a disease where it's never tick that box, tick that box, tick that box. Yeah.
Very well said, both of you. Yes, you had some apprehensions, but you did it. Because I do think the more of us that do it, they cannot ignore all of us. They can't. I know it's a rare disease, but there's enough of us that they can't ignore all of us. So I think it's great what you've done.
Even if ALS is a rare disease, there's lots of things that impact people with ALS that impact everybody else. Accessibility. That's just not an ALS problem, right? That's going to be a lot of our problems. So I don't like to think of things in silos. That's the way I try and look at this.
Jodee got into advocacy after her time in the CALI program. She felt stuck about how to proceed in the ALS community and found out about the CALI through ALS Canada social media sites. We asked what Jodee would say to someone considering the CALI, and her answer was simple but powerful.
Yeah, do it.
Haley, it's simple. Do it.
Yeah. You know what? Like, I don't really have anything bad to say. My only complaint was it was a lot packed into the time. That's maybe the one thing is the intensity was high. I realize why they do it that way, right? Because you don't want to take up 30 days of people's time, but it's almost like 30 days of people's times packed into 6 days. If 6 days, it's not even 6 days, right? A huge amount of information, a huge amount of knowledge, people that have been in the program that present their stories. They were fabulous. They were inspirational. Yeah. And it just made me want to do. I can't say enough good things about it.
Today, Greg is no longer able to speak physically. Jodee recalls the first time she had to step in to speak for him.
We were in Saskatoon in December, and we were buying a barbecue from Home Depot, and he asked the lady a question. And I don't remember what the question was, and she didn't understand him. And I was like, okay, I have to speak for him.
Greg now uses a text-to-talk app to communicate. Initially, the provided voice was auto-generated, but this past November, Jodee and Greg learned about 11 Labs, an American company providing free voice cloning and banking to ALS patients.
We searched through all the video we have in the house and CDs and things like that and pictures and videos, and we were fortunate to find from our wedding, actually, about 45 seconds of his speaking, saying his wedding vows. And it was actually my sister-in-law that had tape. And so she held her phone to the videotape and was playing it. Quite hard to hear Greg's voice, but you can hear it. You can hear that it's him. Actually, this past week when we were in Saskatoon with his kids, the first time he used it, his daughter said, "It's you, Dad."
Huh.
It's nice to hear that you feel like his voice, it really does sound like him.
It does.
Now, I would imagine even when you're using text-to-speech communication, that still drastically impacts your ability to communicate. You know, when you have known someone for so many years and you become attuned to them and their modes of communication, how does your relationship change when your ability to communicate changes so drastically?
Oh my God. It's funny because Greg tells people now that I'm bad at charades because sometimes, even though you can text to talk, it's not as simple as just you and I talking right now. First, you have to put your head down, and actually, he's losing his left hand, so now he holds the phone in his left hand and does it with his right. It's not just as instantaneous as "What do you want for supper?" So charades become a huge part. He's like, looks at me and goes, I'm like, "Do you want me to steal third or I don't know what you want?" So yeah, it can be very frustrating. It can lead to arguments. And other times it's really funny because he says I'm bad at charades. And I said, "I'm not bad at charades. You're the one that's doing the charading and I can't guess it. So it's you that's bad at charades." So it's really challenging, and that's probably one of the things that's a really hard part of this is we've had a very good marriage. I've always called him the joy of my life before even his diagnosis. He's always been the joy of my life because we talked about stuff and we did things together. And so now having those discussions and even just talking about, well, how did you think that this happened? Or can you believe that person did that? Just those stupid little things that you talk about in a marriage. They're not there. They're there, but they're not the same. Instead of saying, "Can you believe she did that?" his answer is an eye roll or something like that. Or, he's like, that's one of the things I find hardest is who to talk to, because I'm used to talking to him. I still can talk to him, but it's harder for him to talk back to me, right? I do a lot of talking now because I mean for both of us.
When Jodee started going to the ALS Society of Manitoba, she repeatedly mentioned her need for a dedicated ALS support group in the province. She was very clear with us that she does not want to take credit for the creation of the support group that has since become available, but she certainly made it known to the community that it was important to her.
I just kept asking, can we do this? Can we have that? And so now we have it going monthly. So I don't want to take credit for it. But my old boss always said that I'm a good person to keep moving things forward. And if I want something, I probably keep asking for it.
Jodee mentions that even with the advent of social media, ALS is still very isolating. Word doesn't always get around fast about the resources that are available. She was reminded of this when she made a post with her support group, sporting some t-shirts made by a fellow ALS community member, Mark Combo.
One says FALS, and mine has ALS in sign language. And somebody asked, I've never heard of this support group in Winnipeg. And then somebody else said, well, it's going and you should come and join. So people didn't know about it. It's just like getting the word out and getting this community together. So those are things that I like to do and I want to do.
Yeah, very good. Said you feel like you don't want to take credit for it, but you definitely played a part in it happening. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Help other people with what I've experienced.
We did want to highlight as well, I don't know if you've heard about this, it's a fairly new announcement. ALS Canada now has ALS Canada Caregiver Mental Health Program funded by Petro-Canada Caremakers Foundation, which provides caregivers across Canada with licensed provincial therapists for up to 4 virtual sessions. And that just came out at the beginning of April, which, 4 sessions is 4 sessions, right? But it's something. I just wanted to mention that, put it out there for any listeners who might be interested in that.
Jodee and Greg are working together to balance their bucket list with the desire to advocate for the ALS community. Luckily, the more Jodee gets into advocacy, the more advocacy efforts become a part of that bucket list.
And I think that's sort of like evolution. As you get more involved, there's things you see happening that's like, oh, I wish I could be involved in that. What would be super cool is to go to some of the other walks and other places and things like that. You know, I think that would be a fun thing to do. It is evolving, but it is difficult because like we want to do as many things as we can on our list. I've been asking about the Blue Jays and Lou Gehrig's disease day. It's funny because I feel disappointed. You know, as you look at your Facebook page and all these things come up about so many other teams that are having like special days. You can sign up through the ALS Association of California if you were in California and say I want to go to an Angels game or a Dodgers game or something like that on Lou Gehrig's day, and I would love to have that in Toronto, that we could all go and say the bucket list and then a huge advocacy thing, and that would be fun.
Do you have any words of wisdom, for other people that would be in your position that are sort of struggling with this dilemma between bucket list and advocacy, because they're both things that take up a lot of time? What would you say to somebody who is having similar feelings about it?
Man, that's a hard question to answer because my own experience is my experience. Somebody else's experience is their experience. So I guess I feel like I don't want to live life with regrets. So I try and do as much of both as we can. And we're fortunate that we can do that. I retired, and like I say, he's walking slowly, pretty good, other than, he doesn't speak. He shouldn't eat. He does a little bit. So we're fortunate in that we can do some of our bucket list things. I think that there might come a time when we can't. So you just have to say, well, what's important to me at this time? And for us, it's been doing the things that we like to do and what we want to do. If I had to work, I wouldn't be doing this. So I'm very lucky to do this. You got to pick your battles.
On the heels of that great advice, we asked Jodee if there was any other advice she would give herself if she could go back in time to Greg's diagnosis.
I would probably say to quit your job right away. Don't wait. Get more involved and continue on with the traveling as you have and doing your bucket list. So that's exactly what I would have said to myself. I would have said, quit. I liked working. It was really hard to quit. Just added the layer of stress that I did not need. I think every caregiver will say that need to look after them. I'm not just Greg's caregiver. I have my dad. And so I have a younger brother, but I'm sort of the one that everything falls on, right? So as a daughter and a wife and a woman, that's what we do. I think that I shouldn't stereotype like that, but for me, that's how I approach it. And it was a lot. So taking that stress out would be my first thing. Take as much stress out as you can.
It's good advice, Jodee. We spent time chatting with Jodee about her interests outside of the ALS community. She's a big baseball fan, loves the Toronto Blue Jays, is someone who enjoys flexing her creative muscle, and always has a project on the go. Jodee, you gotta tell me your favorite moment from last year's season or the World Series. What was your favorite moment?
Addison Barger's base clearing home run.
Okay. Which game was that?
Game 5? I think they were in Seattle.
Okay, yeah.
I can't remember.
I kind of remember. There were so many good moments.
Yeah, the iconic George Springer running to the first base and jumping and everything. That's a good one too.
I personally liked Ernie Clement when I don't remember if he was already on base. I don't really know, but somebody hit the ball. I don't think it was a home run, so he must have already been on base. And he came around third base and he slid into home plate and he was like doing this. He like literally looked and he had this big smile on his face. I thought that was the most amazing. I just loved that he did that. But there's so many of them. They'd get up to bat and you just had this feeling they're gonna hit it. They're gonna get on base. Yeah, and even though we didn't win the World Series, I really didn't feel sad or disappointed about that. I just thought they played it was so great to watch them. Yeah.
It was fun.
I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Yeah, it was just totally fun. Yeah.
How do you feel about this season? Do you have high hopes?
Oh, Jodee.
I want to, but I just, I guess I keep saying it's still early, but it's not getting early anymore.
Yeah.
Man, if they could get some of the injured guys off the list and pitching, what's with the pitching? I don't want to bitch too much, but
Right.
man,
Yes.
just
It is still early in the season, but they're having a slow start.
they are. But I guess the good thing is, like, so are a lot of other teams, right? So that are supposed to be ringers, but they're not doing so hot either. So maybe they're going to have a slow start, and then come July, it's going to ramp up. So that would be okay.
The other question I had was about your t-shirt creations. You like to create t-shirts.
I do.
So is that something you're thinking of doing?
Yeah, I've got a list about 1 million pages long of things to do. What did I say about making priorities? And so, but yeah, no, I don't know if this resonates with people. I made a t-shirt that has the cornflower in it. And then it says, even if your voice wavers, speak your truth. To me, that's like, you asked me earlier about, was I worried about advocacy? So even if my voice wavers, I'm still going to speak out. And I'm speaking out because Greg can't speak. So it resonates twice with me. So I made a t-shirt. I ordered the wrong size, so I can't wear it. So I have to get another t-shirt. So, but I do like that. I love making stuff. And I guess in my past life, I was a marketing person. So I did a lot of ads and things like that. I like creativity, and I'm always thinking of things that we can do. And we have tons of projects. Greg just ordered a 3D printers so he can make stuff, because we're hoping to have a ALS grad sale on the 6th of June. But I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, we gotta do a lot of stuff between now and then.
So like, what kinds of things is he going to print?
Well, so he got this idea from his other brother that we were at in Grand Prairie that has this 3D printer, and a couple of things that his brother has made. He made a huge, the Star Wars spaceship, Death Star. Is that it? He's also made cups, like you can print a cup, figurines, things like that. But this is his baby right now. He's going to figure this all out. But I was thinking one of the things he could make is the flower. And it can be made in purple, I think, because they come with different colors, inks or whatever. And then maybe you could put them onto a pin and things like that and sell them. I was thinking to make bumper stickers, or like just window stickers for your car that say ALS sucks or FALS, to put on your window and sell them. And then the money would go towards the walk. I have so many ideas. They're just flowing everywhere. And
To leave us off, Jodee shared a message of camaraderie and the beauty one can find in community amidst this harrowing disease.
It's a shitty thing. It's really a shitty thing. You can't put it any other way. But I think once you find the community, there is hope, there's friendship, there's support, which everybody needs. So you just got to look for it. If I can be that to someone, that's great. And I'm always willing to do that. So how's that?
That's great. Thank you very much.
I want to extend a very big thank you to Jodee for joining us today, because Jodee and Greg lost somebody very close to them in the past week. So they had a funeral to go to, and they had to drive through a big snowstorm in Alberta to get there. So they had a rough week. It would have been reasonable for you to say, hey, let's reschedule this, but you didn't. So thanks for joining us today. Just want to say that for starters.
Yeah, and I was, kind of rudely kicked off our call before I had a chance to thank Jodee. So it was very admirable to still show up in a big way too. I think we had a very nice conversation about a lot of important things. What stood out to you?
Well, I was definitely bothered by the fact that the day of Greg's diagnosis, it's a tough day no matter what, but a little bit of better bedside manner could have made it just slightly less bad. That bothers me. It bothers me that Jodee, hasn't really felt particularly well supported in her province. And that's nothing against the ALS Society of Manitoba. It just sounds like it's more of a staffing issue than anything else, really. That's unfortunate. A Minister of Health in Manitoba, while they may be doing a lot to support the ALS community in Manitoba, they need to do more. And I hope that they will meet with their constituents, people like Jodee who have concerns, and that they will listen to those concerns.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I guess what really stood out probably most for me is that Jodee has found a way to, in some ways, get some of the support that she needs. She has played clearly an important role in getting that support group going. And then the other thing about her is that she's very supportive of the other people in the community, like maybe specifically the people that have done the CALI program. So those are the parts that stood out for me.
It's great too that, she talked a little bit about being a little bit nervous about foraying into advocacy, how she's becoming more comfortable with it. And we had that discussion about the bucket list piece and whether or not advocacy has somehow made its way onto the bucket list. And, they are sort of distinct things, but she said yes, right? That there are certain advocacy things that she now would consider goals of hers. And I thought it was interesting that she brought up Lou Gehrig's Day for MLB teams and how the Toronto Blue Jays don't really do that. That was pretty surprising to me, considering the way that Canada is sort of, in some ways, on the forefront of ALS research and advocacy. That's just surprising to me that, the only Canadian team in the MLB doesn't really seem to give a crap about it as of right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It is surprising. I will say this, that another one of our CALI graduates, Faye Murphy, who graduated the same year as me, I know Faye threw out the pitch at technically the Lou Gehrig's Day in 2025. And I remember her saying that she is trying to do some more work with the Toronto Blue Jays to maybe get more support from them. So, maybe there are some changes coming. I don't know. I think that's probably just another example of something where the more people that are involved, the more likely that organization will support the community more, perhaps.
Sure. Well, maybe we can connect Faye and Jodee in that effort, and they can maybe work towards that one together.
Yeah, that would be great. Two powerhouses.
That brings us to the end of today's episode of Originals More Than ALS. We'd like to extend a huge thank you to Jodee Karlowsky for joining us and sharing her story.
To access a full list of resources mentioned and references used in the creation of today's episode, please check the episode description where you'll find all the links you need.
If you're enjoying Originals More Than ALS, please like, comment, share, rate, and follow us on the podcast platform of your choosing. Not only do your comments help us improve the show, but these actions really help us to branch out of our immediate circles, recruiting a broader audience to join us in the journey for a world without ALS.
And if you'd like to share your story on the show or suggest what you'd like to hear us talk about next, feel free to send us an email at originals.morethanals@gmail.com.
Thank you so much for listening. Join us again next month where we'll speak to another member of the ALS community about their experiences and the passions that make them more than ALS. Bye for now.